Okay, so breaking news here. Joe Biden has evidently pardoned his son, Hunter. For those of you who don't know, Hunter Biden was recently convicted of a couple of different charges related to lying on his gun ownership form, I believe, as well as tax evasion, dodging about $1.4 million in taxes, I think. Last month, Joe Biden, when asked after Donald Trump won if President Joe Biden would pardon his son for these charges, he said no, he wouldn't. He wouldn't interfere with the Justice Department and would allow that process to proceed normally, unimpeded by him. And clearly, we can see today that that is not the case. This came out around sometime late 7 o'clock Eastern time. Let's go ahead and give this a read. Today, I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making, and I kept my word, even as I watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted.
How?
Keeping your word until you break it. That's you didn't do that, right? Like, so that doesn't mean anything.
Not even that, though. How can he
right?
say it's a selective and unfair prosecution when his son records himself doing crack? He uploads it to the internet. His son has done this.
The broader issue here is I was just online reading some stuff about it, and people are saying, oh, well, the other side does it, so good for Joe. I would do the same for my son, which is the broader emblematic problem. If everyone says, well, the other side does it, therefore I'm going to do it. No, the other side's doing it. You're going to criticize them for it. We're going to criticize them for it. And if you do the same thing, you are also worthy of criticism.
Yes.
Right? Two wrongs don't make a right, as the old childhood adage goes. I mean, this is utterly childish and asinine arguments that people are having online about this. This is, there's been, the past two presidents have had this clear inclination towards, I think, abusing this pardon power and pardon privilege. And, you know, the next time people start harping on Trump about this, I'm literally saving this. And I'm going to come back to it anytime people talk about abuse of power.
This is
again.
bad.
I mean, seriously. People sit around and act like only one side of the aisle is out here being corrupt and abusing their power, and that is not the case. I don't think either one of us are staunchly neither party. We tend to vote depending on who the particular candidate is, what they are spewing, right? And if it aligns with our interests and beliefs. And anybody who's out here, this is evidence that anybody out here who's just a hard line, I'm going to only vote this party because they are right and the other party is wrong and evil. And I know most of the people I know tend to be more liberal leaning just because of where I live and have lived. Those people need to look in the mirror and seriously check themselves, because this is preposterous. But anyways, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they failed at a gun form. I don't know enough to say that's right or wrong. He's actually probably right there. That doesn't necessarily mean what he did isn't worth prosecuting, but I would actually wager he's probably right. Not too many people are actually prosecuted on this. I don't know the statistics if that's actually true, though. Those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. Did you follow this more than I did? Do you know if he paid it back?
He paid what back? The taxes?
His tax, the tax fraud.
He probably did, but that's also part of the suspiciousness. How does a crackhead all of a sudden come up with $1.3 million?
Ordered a break to allow prosecutors to look at the case. When it became clear to me that the same prosecutors were focused not on justice but on dehumanizing me for my actions during my addiction, there was only one path left for me.
Oh, okay. And so
after the break, spurred over the details on a potential plea.
Just to add this in your receipt folder here, Nick. 2016, when this all happened and Hunter Biden had to pay 1.4 million, guess what he did? He was on the board of the Ukrainian energy company. Yeah, so again, Hunter Biden suspiciously became the board member of Ukrainian nuclear power, and then a judge gets appointed by Trump to investigate, and then Biden steps in and has that judge fired for investigating fraud in Ukraine. Specifically, how did a crackhead, Hunter Biden, make millions of dollars in Ukraine? Don't question it, because anyone who does gets fired by Biden. I'm sorry, but I don't know what's clearer on corruption.
All right, so back to his statement. It is clear Hunter was treated differently. The charges in his case came only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. Blah, 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 blah. The reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's case can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. Try to break Hunter, they tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. All right, sure. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. But as I wrestle with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision.
I just put some stuff in chat there for, in case you want to reference that at any point. It is.
Okay, well, yeah, that's not relevant to
not
this.
But later on, it may be.
Okay. So, Joe Biden pardoned his son because he believes that the process was overly political and not fair, which is probably a partially true statement. I don't know about fully true, but I think it's tough to make the case that there is not some amount of political motivation behind this, just like it is probably a fair statement to say that there's similar sort of motivation behind many of the prosecutions aimed at Donald Trump and those around him, right? So again, going back to this idea of holding both sides of the aisle to the same standard. I am not a fan, generally, of attacking disproportionately the family and family members of prominent politicians. I think that sort of behavior is why many of the best and brightest and most talented people in this country that are eligible to run for office choose not to, because they don't want to have to deal with that crap, right? Now, most of them, I imagine, don't have the slew of baggage that the Biden family and the Trump family do, right? So that's noted.
You know, I just thought.
That said, I don't.
I just thought. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Just hold on. Just let me finish this thought really quick. I don't know that he I mean, he pleaded guilty to all the charges, and I imagine there was probably some sort of plea deal coming. So even if there was political motivation here, I'm not sure I agree with generally the action of just circumnavigating our justice system.
So you actually, I was gonna actually lead right into what you just said right there. It makes sense he accepted a plead deal. That even with the plead, it was going to be really bad. It was going to be really bad for him, even with the plead. The reason why reason why they aggressively went for the plead deal is because they didn't want there to be an actual investigation. So if he didn't accept the plead, so for example, he knew he was going to get pardoned. That's why he aggressively went after the plead, because he knew it didn't matter. Whereas if he didn't get pardoned, he would have fought the plead, and then they would have gotten investigated. And they couldn't have an investigation going on because that would have been too bad for the Democrats. That I honestly think that is what happened here. They did this because they don't
It,
want an investigation to go public.
it's likely. I mean, if you read some of Hunter's quotes, which we'll flip over to some of the press coverage that's been going on this topic, there's probably a certain amount of truth to what you said. Certainly won't disagree with that.
Yeah, this was all
I
to avoid
think
an investigation.
I will probably, though, if we look at what Joe Biden said, I mean, it's not like the biggest crimes in the world of some of the stuff that he's done, right? I mean,
Right, but
the stuff that allegedly Hunter Biden has done. Though, to be fair, they did get Al Capone on tax evasion, right? That's how they got Al
right.
Capone. So,
Well, right, but the problem is more of where did the money come from? Why was he paid so much? On top of him being addicted to crack and a few other things. They can't have an investigation on that going public.
okay, so he was found guilty of the possession of a firearm while addicted to drugs, and then he pleaded to the tax charges.
Hmm. So the tax charges, for people who don't know,
Well, there wouldn't have been actually further
no,
investigation though.
there,
He was already found guilty, and he would have been sentenced. Oh, and you're saying if he didn't plead guilty, there would have
yes,
been
he was found guilty
more of
because of
a
the
an
plea.
investigation into tax
So,
stuff.
well, so the tax evasion,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, is because he made a lot of money from 2016 to 2019 and he didn't properly pay taxes on it. He made a lot of money.
Yeah, and spent it on hookers, booze, and travel. Apparently.
Yes.
So ABC, I think this is actually a pretty decent reporting that at least ABC, this is just a statement of facts. This just did come out, so there's not really a whole lot of time to spin this. The statement concluded, I will never take the clemency I've been given today for granted. I will devote my life to rebuild. They're still seeking stuff from. Okay, I hope that is true, and that I am a fan, right, of the idea of being able to rehabilitate people who have gone through addiction. So, if hopefully the results of this clear abuse of power is him choosing to use his influence and wealth that he may or may not have acquired through questionable means to help other addicts or recovering
Yeah,
addicts.
that's not going to happen. But
All right, let's see. Let's check Fox News, the most impartial of all
oh
news
boy,
sources. Kidding.
this
For
is
those who
going to be a
don't
fun
know.
one.
Let's see. This is just a recount of that statement we looked at. Statement of facts. Yeah, Joe Biden said yes, he would rule out pardoning Hunter ahead of his guilty verdict in the gun case. And then he said he would not pardon him again following his plead of guilty. I'm not doing anything. I'll abide by the jury decision.
Yeah, I bet it's the moment the tax
So
money came in. That's where it's like, oh, hey, we can't have an invest.
Well, this happened. This was, he said this after he pleaded to the
Oh,
tax.
okay, I misread then.
So he was already guilty of both here, and he was saying he wasn't going to do it. And now all of a sudden, a month later, he's changed his mind. So I think it was probably, I think it was likely he was going to pardon him this whole
Yes.
time. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to be honest. I mean, yes, we should prosecute people for this, but really, there's.
Yeah.
I do understand the point that this is politically motivated. I mean, seriously, checking no in the federal firearm form. Do you know how many people probably lie on that form? I would wager a significant portion of people that have firearms have probably lied in some way.
I'm actually going to be honest with you. I know people in the firearm communities. They're pretty honest on those forms because the ATF does not mess around. And if you mess up on those forms, you can lose all of your guns. And people put like They might have upwards of $50,000 to $100,000 worth of guns they don't want to risk. They will fill those forms out, honestly. At least the people I
Well,
know.
yeah, but unlawful user of substances or addicted to controlled substances, that includes, I would think, I am not averse on this, expert in gun law, I would think that would also include marijuana and psychedelics, right? And those are so commonly used, there's no way some portion that probably is not small of gun users
Yeah,
don't smoke it.
I would agree with you on there. A lot of people probably just don't even process marijuana and psychedelics like with
And
addictive.
crack cocaine and marijuana are not the same thing. But I am fairly certain that, for the letter of the law on this form, marijuana would be a disqualifier.
It would fall under.
I don't know for certain, but I would
it would
think.
fall under controlled substances, not addicted substances.
Yeah. Unlawful user of a controlled substance.
Yeah, pretty much anyone
So,
with a
let's
prescription
see.
bottle falls into that category too.
Substance abuse. Da, 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 da.
Addicted to crack cocaine before, during, and after. Jesus. Okay. That's very specific.
This is hilarious. Yeah, showed a court he texted Haley Biden, his sister-in-law turned girlfriend.
Wait a second.
I'm trying to understand.
No, that
Th-
his girlfriend. He's in a relationship with his sister-in-law.
Okay. Well, I think one of the Biden's kids died, right? Or was that grandson?
What does that have to do with
I don't know.
turning your sister-in-law
That's
into
a-
your girlfriend?
Because your in-law is not related to you. That's what I'm trying to get at. So if he had a brother and the brother died, that would be the sister-in-law,
No,
right?
they become in-law through marriage, not through siblings. Like, unless you're saying because his brother died, it basically ruled out the marriage.
Right, but his brother's wife would be his sister-in-law. So it's that.
I think that makes
So
it
his
worse. I'm going to
brother-
be
if
honest.
his
I
brother-
think that makes this worse. I'm just going to say I think that makes this worse.
No, but I'm saying I thought one of his kids died.
Oh.
So if his brother died, then she's a widow. I don't know. I'm making shit up.
Bro,
but
look, I'm going to be real. I'm not related to you, but if you died, there's not a single brain cell. There's not a neuron up, and you know how insane I am. There's not a neuron up here that would be like, oh, I'm going to start dating his wife now.
Well, I doubt it happened that way, but crack does things to people, I'm told. Anyways, so a day after he said he was waiting for his dealer, said he was sleeping on a car smoking crack in Wilmington. So, okay. That's pretty damning. I think that's pretty
I
damning
want to see a
evidence.
podcast of this guy and Alex Jones just going off about something because that would be entertaining.
They're to pay $1.4 million in taxes. Not a small amount, not the largest amount ever, but sure.
Oh, go up.
City would consider Biden.
Go up because they actually specify how he says that part of him doing this is to spare the family from investigations. I will not subject my family to more pain, more invasions of privacy, and this embarrassment. I feel like he's hinting at something there, like to more invasions of privacy. I don't know. I really do think part of this
Well,
is...
there's been ongoing scrutiny on him for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Let's flip over to the Times. Full and unconditional pardon.
That's very different than a no that he was saying earlier, you know? To go from no to a full and
the headlines.
without condition.
So let's look at the headlines, right? Issues pardon, came Sunday evening, he pardoned his son. Statement of facts. Okay. Fox News pardons him, previously said he would not pardon his son. Tell where they lean. The Times. Full and unconditional pardon before transfer to President-elect Donald Trump, who spent years attacking him over his legal and personal issues.
Oh.
You can literally tell the it's just so funny how you can tell the leanings of these different places
Yeah, you're
based
not
off
wrong,
of
but I wonder,
titles.
do you think in some way this might actually protect Hunter from anything that Trump might do to investigate him?
Well, regarding these two issues, it does definitionally by the nature of what a pardon is. So now he is, and there's no double. I think it's called double jeopardy or whatever in the U.S.
Yeah.
So he's pardoned, and those cases are closed. Now, if there's other things, I believe those can be investigated, and
Come on.
technically, states could still pursue action because pardons only apply at a federal level, which is why Trump is on trial, even though I think he pardoned himself. He's still on trial at multiple states for various things. And he might have, I think he was actually found guilty in the state of New York, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
of some stuff related to like tax evasion or something. So you cannot pardon state charges. It's only federal.
That makes sense.
Anyways, let's see here. Many people expect him to use it. Yeah, no kidding.
Look at how they're trying to make this a human
That was at 50
statement
days?
about like they're really trying to push the victim mentality on this of like poor Hunter Biden, he's being picked on and harassed. It's like, I'm sorry, he's 54. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not some 16-year-old
Like,
kid who
no, this isn't a
was
guy
going
who
through
went
it.
through poverty. Like, this isn't. No, this was a spoiled guy majority of his life, and is 50 with a drug addiction because his dad is still giving him money. I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for this guy, and normally I'm the empathic one here. Like, I don't feel bad for this guy.
Now, I will say, I will give credit to the New York Times for this last paragraph, in it, as it is a subtle-ish, I don't know if jab, but critique-like note about what he did here, where he uses previous pardons of presidential family members, Roger Clinton and Charles Kushner, by Trump and Bill Clinton, but he talks about how they were pardons for forgiveness and shortening time behind bars as opposed to avoiding time behind bars, which I think is a notable distinction between the two of them. Of, hey, I think this person has paid their debt to society. I'm going to pardon them if they've done some time, versus, nah, I just don't want them to have to face consequences.
Right. There's a big difference. Yeah.
So kudos to the New York Times for including at least a little bit of, because they're known for being overly liberal and pandering to the Democrats.
I think a lot of the
kudos to them for this.
News agencies are trying to be careful right now because they're like, let's not step on toes. It's a weird time right now for media outlets.
So, I mean, I can understand where Biden's coming from. Not especially surprised. I think most people would probably do something similar for their kid. I think it's an inherently human reaction to want to protect your son. That said, from a belief in the justice system of America perspective, it is a little bit disappointing when either side of the aisle takes actions like this and can essentially use political power to protect their family and protect themselves as well from consequences from their actions. So what did you guys think when you saw this news? Do you agree with our takes and opinions? If you do or don't, let us know down in the comments.